What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including a WWE Superstar retiring, Paige wants a comeback, does Andrade want to return to the WWE, the Fiend mask for sale, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Now let's hit the intro and get straight into the first story. Now, our first story looks at Andrade wanting to become WWE Champion. Our fans may be surprised by some comments from recently released WWE Superstar Andrade. The former US Champion asked for his release from the WWE, but apparently feels he isn't done with the company. During a recent media call, Andrade stated he wouldn't mind becoming WWE Champion and that he sees himself doing so in a way similar to Drew McIntyre, who left the WWE and returned several years later with much greater success. Andrade's comments just go to show you how bizarre the wrestling industry and its workers are, as a superstar lobbies hard for his release and immediately talks of returning after getting said release and wanting to become champion. Still, it's possible Andrade feels he has had no chance of success in the WWE right now, and that a sabbatical is in order. So where does Andrade want to wrestle next? Well, it depends on how exclusive his next deal is. He mentioned, "If I signed with a company, the exclusivity would be in the United States, but I would like to keep wrestling outside. I would like to work in Ring of Honor, where Rush is. I would like to go to Japan and return to Mexico. I would like to wrestle in AAA as much as in CMLL. But I don't want to just sign with one company. If I were to sign, I would be exclusive inside the United States, because in Mexico, it's different. You wrestle, you get paid. In the United States, when you sign, you wrestle, but you also get your yearly salary. I'm in talks with several companies. Do you think the 31-year-old grappler could rebuild his career outside the WWE and return to greater success than his first run? Andrade has lots to offer in the ring, but given the wealth of talent on the market, it could be a long road to the main event. Where would you guys like to see Andrade show up next? AEW, New Japan, Impact, or somewhere else? Next up, a WWE Superstar retires. It looks like former WWE Superstar Brian Kendrick has retired from the ring. Kendrick, who has worked in a number of promotions and was known for his championship-winning team with Paul London in the WWE, had been working on 205 Live and has now announced his retirement. The 41-year-old cruiserweight star won't be gone from wrestling, however, as several sites including Wrestling News are reporting Kendrick is getting a tryout as a producer in the WWE. Kendrick was well known for having an exciting in-ring style and considerable charisma. At one point, he even received a decent singles push, something unusual for most cruiserweights at the time. You'll no doubt recall that the Brian Kendrick was an interim WWE champion as he won the title during a scramble match at 2008's Unforgiven pay-per-view, but per the rules, the only recognized winner was a superstar who held the belt at the end of the match, in this case Triple H. Next up, Paige wants to wrestle. And we all know Paige's situation and the risks involved of her getting back into the ring, but even though Paige knows the risks, she still wants to make a comeback. Speaking on Renee Young's podcast, she mentioned, "The neck feels good, and honestly it scares me as well as to maybe come back to wrestling because I really want to. I want to come back tomorrow, but I'm always going to have it in the back of my head. Like, what if something happens and I do get paralyzed? So it does scare me. I know I'm not going to be fully ready mentally to come back. Watch out, world, because when I am mentally ready to come back, everyone's in trouble." While looking at the situation of Edge, who was told that he'd never be able to wrestle again, it's still possible for Paige. It just boils down on whether she wants to take that risk. A Paige comeback would be awesome though. Next up, Peacock deletes another controversial segment. It looks like Peacock's version of Right to Censor is added again. You'll no doubt recall earlier reports of the streaming service looking for controversial segments from the WWE Network and deleting them. This included Roddy Piper painting himself half black at WrestleMania 6 and Mr. McMahon dropping the N-bomb at 2005 Survivor Series pay-per-view. But now PW Insider is reporting that the skit where D-Generation X impersonated and mocked the Nation of Domination during a 1998 episode of Raw will be scrubbed from the streaming service. And one can't help but wonder if NBC had any idea what they were getting into when they acquired the streaming rights to the WWE Network. You can be certain that this is only the beginning, especially given how many controversial WWE segments there were during the Attitude Era and Ruthless Aggression Era. What do you think of Peacock's ongoing edits, and when will they end? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, WWE orders a superstar to delete his post. Speaking of censorship, the WWE reportedly ordered current SmackDown superstar Buddy Murphy to take down a social media message where he seemed to be trying to reignite a past feud. In case you missed it, Murphy posted the following message on Instagram. "Let's point out the obvious. The Mysterios used me. I never needed them. I'm beyond one of the most talented in-ring performers on the planet. Alia used me to be on TV and advance an acting career. Dominic used me so he had a reason to stand ringside. Ray was jealous that I became the new face of the cruiserweight, and he was left out of the discussion. They took what they wanted, they left me in the shadows. Sounds like my time in NXT." Dave Meltzer recently reported on the situation on the Wrestling Observer Radio, saying, "Buddy Murphy, I guess he did an Instagram post trying to shoot his own angle with the Mysterios. He was ordered to delete it, and so he did." Meltzer discussed how Murphy's romance angle with Alia Mysterio was dropped with no follow-up. Yeah, that was another thing they changed. A storyline that changed for no reason, and I guess he decided to come up with a reason to end it and turn heel, and they didn't want him shooting his own angle on Instagram. Fans have seen both the WWE and WWE Superstars use social media to further storylines, but as reported several weeks back, they have begun regulating what wrestlers say on social media. Murphy's situation is a good example of how WWE doesn't want wrestlers to go into business for themselves, so the next time you see a so-called controversial social media post and it isn't deleted, chances are the WWE endorsed it, or possibly even created it. Next up, Batista Furious with the WWE Storyline. Now we can add WWE future Hall of Famer Dave Batista to the list of fans and wrestlers who are furious with the WWE's decision to break up the Hurt Business. Their decision to break up its best faction in years hasn't gone over well, and Big Dave is none too pleased, tweeting, "Let's try this again. Who in their right mind would break up the Hurt Business already? Answer? No one. With any luck, Batista will take time off from his busy Hollywood schedule and visit Titan Tower to dispense some galactic justice to the WWE's alleged creative team, a move that would undoubtedly receive universal acclaim from WWE fandom." And finally, the extra crispy Fiend mask is for sale. And last but not least, are you a collector of all things related to the Fiend, or just someone looking to lighten their wallet? If so, WWE has just the item for you, a limited edition collector's version of the Fiend mask. And you're not getting just any mask, a reproduction of the extra crispy version of the Fiend that returned at the recent Fastlane pay-per-view. The mask is limited to 500 copies and sells for nearly $250. It's scheduled to ship on 30th June, which means fans won't be able to have them ready for Easter baskets, but they will be ready in plenty of time for Halloween. With some fans speculating that the Fiend will eventually return to his more handsome look than his current charbroiled body, this mask could become a WWE collector's item classic. What do you guys think of this latest cash grab? Let us know in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.